meeting to order. Any items from the public? All right, need a motion? Yeah, I got it. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda as presented if there's no modifications for Tuesday, February the 9th.
All right, got a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Second. Second, any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Hess, any, we're in session 4 now of the Board of Review and Equalization. Any changes today?
We have one change that Doc's will present, and we don't have everybody's schedule. We've handled all the calls, we get called in, and we talk to people and what happens. We've been pretty lucky.
All right, sounds good.
Oh, yeah, just having one on the residential side.
All right, Mr. Trineri, how you doing today? Great.
What I have is, we had a taxpayer that had 4 farm parcels. And somewhere in our office, we missed giving the farm on one parcel. So what we're doing is rectifying that.
Who's the taxpayer?
Kenneth and Dolores did,
Okay. Just want to make sure no one had conflict. That's all.
no,
All right.
okay, it's parcel 0438.5.1. And what we have, the appraised value before we changed it is $57,100. The assessed value is $34,260. After turning it back to farm, the appraised value is $6,700, and the assessed value is $4,020.
All right.
He applied for farm exemption and then he got it all but this parcel.
Yeah, every year he had gotten it,
Okay.
and we just missed it.
But he applied for it.
He applied for it, but we just missed it when he did it.
Well, it's important that he applied in the correct time.
Yes, yes,
So it's an officer.
yes.
All right. Entertain a motion on the change in tax.
So move.
Second.
All right, motion been made to accept Mr. Trineri's recommendation and seconded. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The motion carries. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey Larry, I got a question for you. I've noticed going through some tax maps and stuff, I click on some things every once in a while. I noticed there was a parcel out there that had 0 taxes due. How's that happen?
Well,
It's a large tract of property even.
yeah, it's probably something that Bill just changed the plat.
Mhm.
And the parcels will be, because that's done first. And then our transfer area, you're gonna put amount parcel numbers on and all that stuff. So it's probably gonna be something for next year. We're working 22 stuff there.
Okay.
It's probably lots that were laid out, maps that's laid out.
No, they're not lots. This is one big, this is like a 60-acre tract.
Yeah.
Been in the same name for a while.
Oh, I'll check on it, we'll check on it. Because that's the only reason I know it would be that way is if, it's a split out and now it's getting ready to show up for 2022.
Yeah.
And it's just not,
Alright.
you won't see it on there yet.
Well, get with me. I'll tell you where.
I'll check.
I'll tell you where it is.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Okay, we don't have any applicants here. All right, looks like the handsome Todd Funkhauser, chairman of Berkeley County Historical Landmarks.
Main Street.
Main Street.
I appreciate it.
Well, sorry, sit back down. I'm sorry, we have Steve Dobson here for Main Street, Martinsburg, 2021-22 budget presentation, sir.
At least you had the handsome part, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I know he's full of energy, so, but I put a check mark beside you for some reason, but anyway, Steve, tell us what you're thinking about.
Well, I'm here for Randy today. He's under the weather, so I'm the president of Main Street. I've been for 3 years, almost 3 years now. Stayed on pre-COVID. We have, of course, had strange years. Everybody has, but we lost approximately $60,000 in revenue
60?
from our fundraising. We were able to maintain, keep the lights on through paycheck protection loans and a grant we received right at the end of the year from the Community Foundation, but you know, that stuff's going away now. So and we've been told by the health department that not to expect to do any events until at least midsummer. So that's about $70,000 in fundraising. We're probably going to do. We won't be able to have summer concerts, wine fest, and chocolate fest.
Hey, Steve, I gotta ask you the same question as I ask everybody else. Even though your revenue's down, your expenses are down as well.
Right. But probably, I mean, the couple of fundraisers we were going to have, one's Chocolate Fest. We get some marketing support from the state for that.
Okay.
That we're not going to get. You know, and the problem is it promotes the downtown area, and now we can't have people down there in large groups. So it's the businesses that are the issue, and we, you know, we'd like to be able to do things for them. Each one of those 3 fundraisers are highest netting fundraisers of the year, especially the wine fest. And it's not like we can just change the dates, because then it's like starting all over again.
Right.
So we have it. So, you know, we appreciate the support, the increased support last year. But you know, as it looks right now, all that grant stuff's going away now. So we're really looking for new ways to support the businesses and to you know, it can be a real struggle. It get real creative.
All right.
What do you think? What are you thinking about doing with if we're thinking outside the box and can't do all of the things that normally happen downtown? How are you going to? What kind of programs are you going to create that you think that the county should be getting involved in helping you create, and how's it going to benefit them?
Right. Well, I don't know if you noticed, last summer we did a banner project where we allowed businesses to advertise on banners downtown. That was pretty well received. That was just basically to help us keep the lights on. It really didn't do much for the businesses. And now they missed the whole Christmas season again. You know, we're working on things that can happen in smaller groups. It really doesn't. Then we did some virtual Fridays at 5 last year, but that really doesn't, you know, do anything except keep people wanting to hear music and longing to be back downtown. So, you know, we would like to be able to do some more marketing for the businesses. I don't have a specific program. I'm not on that committee. I didn't get through today, so it's kind of last minute. Jump in here. But problem is, you know, a lot of those businesses are, you know, just basically, I mean, Walmart can have 500 people. They can't have 5 in a restaurant. The store doesn't make sense. So we do have a couple of new restaurants that are doing very well. My block on Park Street is packed every day, and every Friday night you can't find a parking space. So those are good things happening. But we've got to find a way to, you know, we're talking about smaller musician groups around, you know, at different areas. And, you know, we did the Friday night thing in lieu of the Christmas celebrations last year, where we blocked off all the streets so people could social distance, and that was very well received. And we're hoping to do that again some this summer, where we can get people.
You guys don't have anything on the schedule?
Not right now. Not that I'm aware of. Like I said, I'm in the middle of tax season, so I haven't been involved in those discussions. or Randy can follow up with some of the real plans. We've got action committee with me and DJ Orsini, Michelle Sadat, and a couple of others that, you know, the banner thing last year, they're working on it. Because it's only been a couple of weeks since we got, you know, information that we weren't going to be having much. So I did something.
How's the relationship with Main Street Martinsburg and the CVB? How y'all work? I would think that y'all should work very much hand in hand.
We do work very closely together. In fact, Mark Jordan is on our board and has been, and heads up a lot of promotions that we do. Wasn't much to do last year. We try to coordinate our roles and work what each other's doing to kind of maximize the benefit of what we get.
How did Martinsburg Bike Night? How did it do for you guys down there? Was that a pretty good night?
It was a very good fundraiser for a number of years, and then started getting a different element showing up, and we haven't done that for.
Okay.
So the last year we had it, we kind of sat down with the city afterward and decided it wasn't worth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Understand. So, would it be a fair statement to think that even though your revenue's down, your expenses are down, but at the same time to really start your program back up is where you're going to be lacking? Is that a good, fair statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and without any real seed money, you know, to get things going, it's hard to get a marketing plan together. And we've seen we've been very fortunate last year that we had sponsors that were still willing to sponsor virtual events and sometimes even non-events, some things that didn't happen, and they said just keep money and look for something else. But you know, business is just not going to be able to keep doing that.
Would it be possible for you to send in just an updated financial statement?
Sure. Yeah.
Kind of maybe compare the snapshot from where it was this time last year to where it is today. Anybody else have any questions?
Do your Main Street people, do they pay dues or anything?
Yes. Yeah, there's
Do you know what they are?
I know for an individual, it's $35, but anybody can do it. It's not limited. And then for a business, it's based on business size, and it's anywhere from $75 to $200. I'm not quite sure.
Sounds like a bargain.
This year generated $6,800. Next year they're budgeting at $8,000 for dues.
It sounds like a real bargain.
It is. I mean, and we offer it to any business. You don't have to be in the downtown area. So
Yeah, that's renewals.
you get a couple of free email blasts a month for the 5,000 email addresses. So it's worthwhile.
That was the renewals, and the new is
Renewals have been down this year, but as expected. We've also had some people pay doubles just to help out.
Hard to get excited about spending money if there's not, not that those events, those things happening, you're not visiting the downtown, all that's part of it.
Fridays at 5. That's always been a pretty nice too. That's really doing well.
Yeah, that's one of our best events, and not expensive to put on. And
Good music, good
most of the
social.
time,
Good time,
music.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you.
Maybe we can do quite an event for the first time we can do a Fridays at 5. Splurge pretty good on it.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next is Todd Funkhouse, Chairman of Berkeley County Historical Landmarks.
Just handsome, Todd.
This handsome Todd, man. Look at that. Got a matching mask and everything.
I got five for an hour.
Oh, no.
thought that's why you said he was handsome, because he had the mask on.
Look, better than I've ever seen him.
My mask just hides the ugly truth.
So, you know, I put on the show, but I got something for you to go about. I like being, because I always have to wish Norwood a happy birthday, but now you have a young man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
happy
birthdays don't even mean nothing to him
I'm
yet.
taking this thing off. I'll get ready to pass out. So thank you. I'm here on behalf of the Berkeley County Historic Landmarks Commission. It's 2 years in a row. I'm usually not one for spotlight or for public speaking, so it's pretty neat. I started this presentation and I thought, you got to figure out who I am before you figure out what I'm doing around the county. And I've been at it for a while. My wife said that she's probably the only one that knows what I've done throughout all these years, which is kind of cool. So I read this through, and forgive me, because this isn't me, but I think I just need to tell you. But it all started back in 2001 when I was 1 year old, by the way. Moved to Runnymede, and I met Susan Greenwald. Susan Greenwald was the chair of the Bunker Hill Historical Committee. And so she said, oh, hey, and we met, and she gave me a tricycle for my children, and it was great. I was in the neighborhood, I belonged, I connected, it was neat. I didn't realize, looking back, I realize now. Then I didn't have a clue. But she introduced me to her group, and it took off. It just took off. It just created a craving in me for education, and for community activism. 2002, I went on to become a part of the Morgan Calvin Committee at the death of my mentor. So for 5 years, I spent every day with my mentor. And he died of Alzheimer's. But spent every day, up to that point, I spent every day with having lunch with my mentor, which created who I am today. I served as the chairman of Morgan Calvin from 2008 till 2017. I just didn't have time. And number two is they wanted to do different things. And I said, that's fine. You go for it. 2017. 2003, became part of the Morgan Calvin. I saw a need and I obtained my grant writing and administration certification from the University of South Carolina. Holy crap, I didn't know back in 2003 what that was going to get me into. It got me into a lot. 2003 through 2005, I began a custom mentoring program for young men at the bequest of the Principal Marty Grove. We turned field trips into life lessons. It became known as the Friggin' Five. It was 5 kids in school. No one else wanted to deal with it. And I would load them up in my wife's minivan and we would roll. We would roll through the county and we would clean up anything. We would do anything. These boys would not sit in the classroom, but man, they could clean up a job site. And they were awesome. And they went on, lost 2, 3 made it. One boy they said would be in jail by middle school and be in prison by high school. So I gathered around me the counselors, Dr. Taylor Perry, who said that the last moment that you can affect change upon a young man is 4th and 5th grade. By the time they were done 5th grade, I was done. I knew that 5, that was a special 5, and it was exhausting. It was tough. But in that time, I was asked to join a summer school committee under the leadership of Lewis Mullinex. It was the most successful summer school program in the state of West Virginia's history. I had no idea. I was just there. And I thought, oh, this would be good fun. You know, we'll do it. But we took a 4-book series on history and we linked it to historic sites in Berkeley County. So they would go through a week-long course in the summer. 47 students would go through a week-long course in the summer and it would culminate in a field trip to various sites. One of them happened to be Janita Giles. Janita Giles' husband died in 1994 of a sudden heart attack. I come stumbling along, not knowing a lick, and I thought this would be cool. So I asked her to open up the one-room schoolhouse. And everyone told me, no, she won't do that. She's not going to do that. She did. And we put 46 kids in that school room. And she had the time of her life. It was what she and Paul intended. So I was honored to have her, and I didn't realize at that moment, you know, just me being me. Yeah, I am, me being me, which was really cool. 2004 to 2005, I chaired the Mill Creek Local School Improvement Council at the request of Marty Grove. Had no idea. It actually ended up culminating in a school-wide computer upgrade. At an investment, we invested $7,000 at a return of $750,000. I went to the U.S. Department of State that upgrades 3 floors, one every year. And my Uncle Buddy, I don't know if any of you all knew Buddy Callahan, but
he went with me because he thought, what are you getting into? I mean, you're dealing with the federal government. So I rented a U-Haul, and he and I trucked on down there, and we elevated 108 computers, servers, everything, complete packages. We motored it, and then we go to get out of there. This was before cell phones, really. And so there was only one way back that I knew, and well, it was after 9/11, so you couldn't take big box vans on the Beltway. I scooted on down that Beltway, statute of limitations up, and he just screamed at me the whole time because he was a member of the community, a pillar of the community. I didn't understand it, but I just needed to get back. I had a lot of computers, I had stuff to do. And he just sat over and screamed, and I had to unload him by myself. Made me mad, but he got his point across to me. 2004, I joined Inwood Bunker Hill Lions Club at the behest of some community people. Ended up serving as president, site chair, and president. Attended 3 leadership schools. We developed a scholarship program. I introduced the concept of new money to those folks, and it blew their doors off. It was really fun. It was really fun for them to see what new money could do for a community. It just so happened that they were all 70 and 80, and that's too bad. But I moved on from that. Went on to 2005, 2009, South Berkeley Christmas tree. Volunteered for everything I could. I ended up obtaining the funding for the wall that now sits around the tree, which is pretty cool. No one knows that. No one knew that till today. So I never told anyone that. So I'm telling you that now. 2006, 2008, jumped into Little League football at the request of parents. Ended up serving as VP. That's where I met that young man in a ditch, putting that water line in. That water line, to most people, simple, but to me, it helped us get those folks to see beyond their child, and it led to expansion of baseball fields, football fields, soccer fields, softball fields, batting cages, practice fields, concession stand up, field upgrades. I mean, it just blew up from that. So you were part of that, and that's where I learned a lot about you in that ditch right there. I didn't get in it. So don't think that I'm going to get into that.
I'm still
If you
stuck
got
in it
you probably
sometimes.
wouldn't get out of it.
Right, somebody would cover me over. That's right. 2008, I was appointed to the Landmarks Committee, basically because of my activity on the Morgan Gavin Committee. And that's when I began this concept of the economic development impact of a strategic location. I had been educating myself through various college programs and intense trainings, going as far as Boston, Pennsylvania. I don't know, I've got a shoebox of stuff. I don't know. My wife says I should have it all framed, and I'll let the kids throw it away when I die. But so we started developing a strategic location, understanding how we were going to interconnect, and we'll see that as part of the process. 2010, I was appointed president of the Historical Society. I just thought that would be good fun. They had 3 buildings, a mortgage, and $300 in the bank. That's the Berkeley County Historical Society. 3 buildings, old buildings, not new buildings, not modern buildings, 1858 buildings. They had 3 buildings and $300, and I took off. They approved a 5-year strategic plan in one night. They never knew what would hit them. But they hit me a lot. For 3-4 months, I sat in a swivel chair in the middle of that ballroom answering questions. I had to get rid of the static chair, I had to get a swivel chair because everyone was, oh. But I said that if this organization was going to survive, we needed drastic changes. So I weathered that storm. We're now solvent. Historical Society, I've been there since 2010. How many times have I asked you gentlemen for money for the Historical Society? 0. We're self-sustaining. 0. I could say that with pride. I didn't know that. I didn't really realize the merit of that. But now we have an endowment, and the endowment is with the West Virginia Community Foundation, and it follows our collections. We have a dedicated storage building full of Berkeley County artifacts. It's amazing. Mr. Gokenauer, you have no idea what you're getting into with me, so I wish you the best. But it was fun, and I went through, I'm at the end, we're at the end of the second 5-year plan, strategic plan, succession planning, and COVID hits, so we'll see what happens. 2010 to current, I participated as speaker of Leadership Berkeley. Every Leadership Berkeley class, I've been there, giving them tours of the county, talking to them about the value of place and nonprofit. And nonprofit doesn't mean that you don't make money. It just means that you don't lose it. It just has to be 0. Everything has to be 0. So when I do these things, everything in my mind is 0. If it's red, we don't do it again. If it's black, well, it makes everybody crazy because now they want to do more and more and more and more and more and get you off commission. So anyway, 2012 to 2015 served on the Roundhouse Authority, and I resigned 2014, 2019, I began a girls basketball program with my wife at the request of Bob Shout, the Randy Smith Center. Went from 3 teams to 12, hosted free annual camps starting with approximately 8 girls, and now we ended up with 125 in 2019. Musselman High School girls basketball now runs those camps. Bob Shout, the Randy Smith Center needed money, so why not? We build humans through basketball, which is the mentoring program. 2010, as Landmarks and Historical Society began a relationship with CBB, it didn't go well. 2012, Laura Gassler came on, began CBB coordinator, and instead of being strategic location, it was location, location, location. So Laura Gassler was very visionary, it was awesome, never in around. So we developed this concept of location, location, location. We have a pamphlet and all that stuff. 2014, we'd already been doing geocaches for a while, but CBB unveiled their first geocache trail, Villages of Berkeley County. Visitors to the historic sites went through the roof. It was unbelievable. It led to the docent program. Lucky CBB, they support locally. I don't care what they say. That's new money. That new money has an incredible impact if it's used properly. If it's used focused and purposeful, that money has a dramatic effect. So we started a docent program, and that allowed us to keep the Adam Stevens, the Roundley House, Bellboy House, and the Morgan County open throughout the summer. Visitors. 2014, 2017, the landmarks that I was responsible for filmmaking. So I had Laura to take that on. I don't know how many movies have been made in Berkeley County since that time. The only thing I did was specifically focus on site locations, historic property, and those people just benefited immensely because these film crews put maintenance back, new money. I want you to understand, new money. So new money, and new money has an incredible effect. 2016 to, I don't know, I'm not done yet. I've restored 14 cemeteries in the county. I don't know, over at Old Norborn, we pay $1,500 a day. We've been doing it since 2015. We probably got 300-400 days. I don't know, I've lost tracks. It's just too much. 2016 to present, I've served on the CBB board of directors, and I'm currently the president. So I did that because my life has come around full circle. It's always been a strategic plan for me. It's not been happenstance. I didn't realize that, but now I'm at that point where it's time to be president of CBB, help them develop the tools to go forward, help them to develop the ability, the board members, and the focus to go forward. So that's my resume in a nutshell. And I'm currently a middle school basketball player.
That's a pretty big nutshell.
I'm just trying to figure what he does on his spare time.
I manage a farm at Harlem Springs with Lake Mr. Clover.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'll give you the red master time. All right, so in front of you, what you'll see is basically just a nice little package. My wife said she should have done a PowerPoint. I said, I don't want to do a PowerPoint.
Yeah, this works great.
Yeah. So you'll see Berkeley County Historical Landmarks was established in 1974. Just a brief description of what we are. Most people don't know that we're a certified local government entity, which gives us a competitive advantage when we go for grants, state and federal grants. It makes our match used to be 60-40, now it's 70-30. So, and the great thing about us being a certified local government and having qualified people is that our time counts as income. So when I go work with homeowners, right now we have 5 homeowners. I go work with those homeowners, the packages that we put together, the time that we spend goes towards their in-kind contribution of that 30%, 50%, whatever it may be. So there's a return, new money back into those homeowners. They can take and use that $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 back into their home, which is incredible. We serve as a local agent in the Section 106 review process, which is really a good time. I think that my biggest thing was the cell phone towers. I just met with the group that was doing those across the county, and I said, look, here we go. I'm not doing these cell phone towers once every month. We need to figure out an approach that limits the amount of cell phone towers in the review process. So we did. They were very accommodating. It worked out wonderfully. You'll see cell phone towers, but where aren't you going to see cell phone towers? I mean, be careful. The lower you make them, the more you need, and then more people complain because more people see it. Okay, whatever. So I just traded it out. It worked out great. So in the Berkeley County, and finally, most people don't know, historic landmarks, this is crazy. Maintains an inventory of over 3,000 individual properties, 160 cemeteries, 10 historic districts with an additional 9 within Martinsburg. Owns 5 properties, 2 easements, as well as a few monuments and roadside markers. This is important because Berkeley County is home to a national landmark. It is one of 16 within this state. National landmarks very important. It has a preservation easement that has to be observed. I tell you, the Landmarks Commission is just one thread of the quilt that makes up quality of life for the residents of Berkeley County, and they're scattered. So it's a sense of place. Turn to the next page, site of Protona. That was my first thing with Steve Christian. It was great. That's when I knew that Berkeley County needed something besides townhouses and apartment buildings, a strategic location. And Steve Christian had this idea, like him or love him or hate him or what, but had this idea, and the Taylor Station Business Park was born, and there was the Henry Bettinger house on that property. So we met exhaustively, and it was my chance to plant that seed, strategic location. Hey, Steve Christian, people are gonna wanna come here. You just gotta get to where they are. You gotta get to where they are. They're gonna wanna come here. They're gonna want to be in Berkeley County. We're a stone's throw from, I don't know, everything. So it's gonna sell itself. All you gotta do is get there and say Berkeley County. But we had the ability through Shepherd University to document that property. That's part of landmarks. You know, people lament the loss. I've suffered through people going, oh, you should have stood up and preserved it. Preserved it. Look at it. You preserve that. You're gonna preserve that in the way of Taylor Station Business Park. I'm sorry, purists, don't watch me on YouTube, all 3 of them. But you gotta weigh that. You gotta figure that out, right? You gotta weigh that out. So we were able to document it. I brought the hat before, I won't bring it up. But Shepherd University did that at no charge, 2011. 2014, we go to Parks and Rec when we're starting to build out the Courthouse Farm Park. Most people don't know, we lended a lot of effort towards Steve and this group. And as a subsequent, it led to Jim Rickard, who I really respect deeply, and I have an opinion on that gentleman. But he ended up restoring the spring house and smokehouse with the same funds. It was pretty good. Next page, you'll see, because we dropped the guards, the family cemetery at Courthouse Farm. The Courthouse Farm was bought by the county from the Emmerich family, and over the course of years, the tombstones were broke off and now the trees cut down. That's on county property, but I figure I just need to be realistic and say that happens. I mean, we do the best that we can, but stuff happens. But we have record of it. So if anything ever major comes about, we're there. We're to say, hey, don't dig up those people. Emmerich family had a brother who was a horse thief. He's buried in the backyard of the overseer, or the superintendent's house. I took a big tour with one of the caretakers there a long time ago, and he pointed this little divot, and he said that's where the horse thief is. They wouldn't allow him to be buried in the family plot. Pretty cool. You know, you don't want to go messing with the grave. Now let me tell you, Morgan Chapel, First Anglican Church, west of the Blue Ridge. This is where I learned how to treat people with dignity and respect. The roof had blown off of the Morgan Chapel, and the previous Landmarks Commission met the bishop out there, and it was pretty rough. But I appreciated the man, respected the man, and we started a working relationship. That's the condition of it now. It's in the second roof now. It's completely restored. There's Civil War graffiti in that building that people will come from all across the world to see.
What is it?
Civil War graffiti.
Is that right?
Yes, sir. Stonewall Jackson camped out there for 3 months. The Union Army did not make it over that creek until 1864. So it is full. And so Landmark sponsored a graffiti preservationist in 2012. He assessed it. We determined to seal up the building because it's a religiously affiliated building. We can't secure the government money. So we just have to wait till the opportunity arises. But securing it was important. And it's secured. The cemetery that surrounds it counts Morgan as one of its interrees. Next one is Mount Zion Episcopal Church. Man, what a war that one was. That was a good time. Folks wanted to maximize the use of the church. They came up with an idea of a community center. I got right in the middle of that. Right in the middle of it. Didn't mean to, but you know. But I provided both sides with information, and I let them decide it. But you'll see that addition on the back. That's working with the Archbishop of the Diocese. Next page, you'll see Old Northbourne Cemetery. This is my crown. On the left, you'll see Pete DeForney. He passed away last year. Sorry to say. I lost 3 good people last year. Pete DeForney, Kevin Soring, and Tink Maynard. Tink Maynard scared me. But anyway, this is the cemetery. That's how we restored all those cemeteries. That's what it looked like before. Flip the next page. You'll see the dilapidated condition of the cemetery. Why is it important? Because it represents community pride. When visitors come into town and you see your cemetery looking like that, they say you don't respect yourself. So that was important to me. I didn't want people looking at my town and my community as if we lacked pride. And that was very important. And Bob Cloyan was the catalyst behind that. He passed away in 2017, never saw the project completed. You'll see a picture of Old Norborn as it is today. Jonathan Appel, it's funny. Jonathan Appel, I helped him countless hours. Just a great time. Until one day he walked up to me and said that I had it set up like a prison labor camp. And he had knee braces on both knees and elbow braces. And I said, dude, I went and had a hernia operation. I'm back out here helping you. He goes, look, you're killing me, man. We can't keep this pace up. And I'm like, okay, it's best for me to move on. Because that's the way I go. That's the way I. So he took it on. He doesn't wear any braces anymore. I love Jonathan Appel. The Angel, that's a monument right there. It was tossed over. That's Alexander Parks' family. Alexander Parks instrumental in the airport. That head was found in the dumpster behind the CVS, which is over there by the drug court now. Pete Miller brought it back in a grocery sack and said we might want it. And so we put it back together. But that's the type of intricate work that went into that from a landmark standpoint, because as landmarks, I have, and you'll see, I have authority through West Virginia legislature. Next page, it's a good time. This is our historic resource. So how we locate historic resources in Berkeley County, how you ask? 7.5 minute topo maps, and not 911 converted. So I found this I used Burns Cemetery, N97A. You can find N97A on the map randomly. I found it. The only thing I knew that still existed was B&O Railroad. I went trudging around Hovnavian Homes over Liberty Run, found Burns Cemetery. Burns Cemetery is secured. I have descendants coming this year. They're going to restore their family cemetery, and I'm really honored to be a part of that. But that's how we do it at the Landmarks Commission with 7.5 topo maps and a dart. Rooney Cemetery was great. We used we used the topo maps. Found this in the middle of Sleepy Creek land management. Turned out to be a family reunion. We restored that cemetery. It was a great time. It's led to enormous contributions to the Historical Society. Not just about landmarks. It's about Historical Society. It's about CVB. It's about Development Authority. It's about Parks and Rec. It's about a lot of different things. There's a lot of different moving parts on this, people. We got to keep up with them. So the Rooney Cemetery, Boyd Rooney actually sold his interest in a gold mine and donated that money to the Historical Society, which was funny. I said, well, I should have just kept the gold mine. I could have went out there and got rich with everybody else. Always looking for a hole to put me in anyway.
The Rooney family owned over 2,000 acres in Back Creek Valley one time.
They did. They did. And Michael Rooney's on everything.
We bought their old house. We sold it, but we bought it. It was built. It was about 120 years old now.
And Judy Erskine was there.
Yeah.
Boyd Rooney. Michael Rooney Jr. was arrested for racing horses in Darksville in 1810. So he's a fun guy. J.E. Baker's company store. This is in Bunker Hill. This is in my backyard. It's gone. There's about a lot. What good is it? There's nothing. It has no value to me whatsoever. Now, someday it'll be fancy apartments, but people don't know what they're living on top of. They'll have no sense of place, no sense of connection. But I lament that because it's sold for taxes. That's my failure. Because I didn't stay up on that. I didn't think it was important. I didn't stay up on it. Then I wrap by one day and it's gone. And I'm like, what in the happened to that place? And somebody said it's been torn down. I lament that because we should have documented it, but we didn't. So I lament that. And that brings you to the end of your picture slideshow there. And I thank you for that part. So now, why the money? I'm asking for a significant amount more this year, and I need to explain to you why. So I itemized the budget out to you so that you would know exactly why. I got something for you too. We're not the people there. You know, I've been through 12 county council people. There you go, Mr. Davis. Yes, sir. It's funny, that little form just gives me a fit. I'm not gonna lie to you. That little form there, Penny, gives me a fit. I know, I sent that thing over blank, and that's Susan's fault. It wasn't my fault. Just happened. I'm just kidding. It was all my fault. But it gives me a fit, and so I struggle with how I'm gonna get my communication across. So I'm asking for 25,000, and I showed to you in numbers, so you kind of could understand. Joe requested 25,000, 2,086 of that's for the insurance premium. Office equipment and website, we have no office equipment, we have no website, we have no email, we have no phone, we have nothing. I'm just busy with nothing. I hate to see what happens if we go official, how this would benefit the county. Historic district updates, $10,000. We got a lot of districts that just don't make any sense. And we gotta get focused. I can't be running around for dog sheds and garages. We have to figure out what the threads are that make Berkeley County unique, so that we can create marketable products for tourists and visitors and homeowners. So we asked for this historic district updates, because the district go back to 1972. 5,000 people in the county in 1973.
81 would have been 10 years ago.
10 years before that.
Yeah, in 1982, I was statute of limitations. 1982, I was riding my bicycle on 81. I mean, what in the world? So this much of a change, it is incredible. Phase 1 of the completion of our file project. This has been going on for 5 years now. It is intense. And what I did was I showed you exactly what we need to complete that project, and I divided it by 2. And it's salty because the state has guidelines on record management. They actually have a record management department and a man in charge of historic records of all kinds. And that's incredible. But I have a lady who helps me out, Carol Appenzeller, who does that curatorial side. I couldn't answer a lot of questions if you asked me, but the state actually provides technical assistance with that. And some of these things are being utilized now, but they're being utilized at the expense of the Historical Society. So not only am I carrying we all are carrying the Historical Society, but we're carrying the landmarks as well. That's pretty incredible. I mean, I've been blessed with a lot of good people. And then our cemetery survey project, which is crazy, but cemeteries in Berkeley County, Mr. Barnhart, it probably means something more to you, being you're that longer type resident than I am, Mr. Whitaker. I'm a native, but cemeteries aren't necessarily recognized as cemeteries in the eyes of the land. They have to be in a deed. So just because there's a tombstone over there by the mall, Revolutionary War Kearney, that's not a cemetery. It has no legal protections. I have no right of ingress or egress to that cemetery. So when those relatives come, I mean, I trespass. I've stared down 3 shotguns so far. 11 years, it's not too bad. Never been shot at. I've been threatened, but it provides no protection. So if people come, I gotta hop the fence and see what happens. I don't mind it.
I thought all cemeteries were accessible.
No, sir. No, not state law is they have to be deeded as cemeteries to be recognized as cemeteries. It's that little loophole, that little nuance.
So you're right. Cemeteries are,
Right.
but if they're not deeded, they're not a cemetery.
Yes, sir. Correct. So, and it's really interesting. I mean, you get
So
into
what about
these-
cemeteries in National Forest ground?
Well, I have the Rooney Cemetery over in Sleepy Creek. That's not a cemetery. It's protected, of course, because the state was going to preserve the resource.
Where
But
is
it's not. It doesn't allow me. If that were private property and it were not a deeded cemetery, I would have no right of ingress and egress under state law.
With the family?
No.
Really?
As Landmarks Commission, I share that with the family.
Okay.
That's why this thing is.
See, I always thought a family member had rights to see their
No,
departed.
not if it's just the.
Plot.
I know the old Tabor Cemetery there on Tabor's Ford Road, which is the road I live on, but it's a foreign name. It's past the dead end at Tabor's Ford. The family has the right to go down there, but that's the only one. And the Tabor family, she owns the drapery shop there on Queen and Race. That's the sheep Tabor. They have rights to go down there. In fact, there's a cemetery just off my property on the Anchorage farm. I don't know if it's registered or what it is.
That's a good, this is a perfect example, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's some of the misunderstanding that we go through, is, you know, he, as Councilperson Barnhart's interpretation of the cemetery is, in all our minds, a cemetery, but under state code, state law,
Yeah.
it's not.
Well, it's got a fence around it, but the cattle get into it, and groundhogs have been in it, and, you know, it's totally disrupted. You know, it's right there, it's got a fence, a concrete fence around it and everything. I mean, cattle, all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's something that we struggled with for the past. So that's really it in a nutshell, and that's the reason that I asked for the increase. And I'll get
Well,
back. Go ahead.
There are several commercial properties now. I mean that as, it used to be a blacksmith shop, Reiner's shop. So right there on Route 9, Hedgesville High School, James Rumsey, you all there. Turner's shop, which was in Greensburg. It was another commercial site that's been going for 20 years. It's a house, 2 houses are built in there. You know, is there anything that the Landmarks Commission or the Historical Society couldn't put a marker there, or with a state road saying, you know, Reiner's shop, which was a Hedgesville landmark for many, many years until it disappeared, you know, is gone now, but there's nothing to mark the site or historical. The old picnic grounds on the sulfur lots. There was one in Bennington, one in Bunker Hill, that, you know, the Sulphur Springs, people would actually camp there to get to the sulfur water. Yeah.
But and at the expense of being honest with you, plaques walk off. But with the computer and GIS and all these wonderful tools that we're exploring as a CVB, it is possible to recognize those sites. But we don't really live in an era or a time that putting these plaques up, they tend to leave. That's $2,000. That's
They get
$20,000.
vandalized.
Or they just get taken. I mean, people, they have value in the metal, and there's no salvage yards around that they like that, whether it's got writing on it or not. So at the cost of being honest with you, you know, we have that information in our files, so that when those abilities come available, we can honor that, we can recognize that, and we can continue to preserve the history. But I get in trouble all the time with the generational differences and not understanding why we don't want to be so quick to put up these things. We don't live in that kind of community anymore. So if that answers your question, I would, if it's really significant, I mean, yeah, I love it, and it's well protected, but, you know, out there grinders, and it's just, it would be tough. So I include a strategic plan for 2021. This goes to a couple of years because we have it. Doughboy Monument. Oh boy. According to the SHPO, the monument is not actually Doughboy by definition. It's a variation of the original sculpture, one of 3 created by Walter Sims. Monument lost its historic designation the minute it left the federal courthouse property, which means that I can't leverage. I'm a leverager. I love leverage. I love new money. Can't touch it. I had to figure out how I'm going to get that thing back up. Formed a committee. War Memorial Park was selected, and we'll get it back up because it's important to the people of Berkeley County. I went to they had the monument ceremony, and I attended, and that's when I weighed whether it was worth the effort of having it re-erected. And I mean, lined up all those people out there in that pouring down rain, cold weather. Yep. So we'll get that thing done. I don't know if it's going, how fast or how slow it's going to be, but we'll get it done. Cemetery preservation.
We've heard prices all over the place. We've heard 20-some thousand, we've heard 50-some thousand. Where's the price?
I think the first place we start with is a plan. And when we first started talking about the refurbishing of the Doughboy, we had a plan. I don't know what happened, but we had a plan. And that plan was simply to restore the Doughboy monument because the lawns had come off from well-intentioned community people giving it a good hard struggle.
Right.
So that's all we were focused on. I mean, it wasn't moving it, and new plaques, and it just mushroomed. It's like the more people you talk to, I don't like all that. I mean, it's too many people, too many fingers in the pie. There's no good crust. So, where we are is actually starting realistically saying that the monument just has to be re-erected. It's an important monument to the people of Berkeley County. And if I had the foresight to realize what was going on around behind me and through me, I never would have been a participant in it. But I had Tink Maynard. You know Tink Maynard? Tink Maynard, boy, he got me in a lot of trouble. He's all gung-ho about that, you know, and I think we can leverage community assets. I think enough people have enough pride in those things that we can have that foundation engineered in place and that statue re-erected at no cost. And if they want to put a fence around it, that would be the cost. So yeah, I think this community has a great deal of pride when it comes to things like that. I know I could probably get Mr. Whitaker to come over and supervise and put me in the hole. I'm sure I could get Mr. Gokenauer to get me a fire truck that, you know, we could use to whatever we needed. But that's the part of all this. That is a community landmark. So therefore, the community has to put the cost of that. It just threw me for a loop when I started working with the SHPO to figure out, oh man, I'm in a real bind. I'm in a tight spot here. But not that bad. Committees must stay small. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't foresee coming in here and going, hey, council, I need $28 million. It wouldn't be worth the investment. So I know your stance on it, and I appreciate that honesty because it makes it much easier. People don't understand, and then if I put the effort into it, and then you have to change the course and say, hey, this young man's doing it, I'm not telling you. But if I do it, and then you change course, you say, hey, we ought to give him a couple $2 to get up over the hump. Well, we take it, we respect it. But as it is now, I wouldn't fund it with that. So
Well, it's kind of like, you know, we was told that it was going to be fundraised and somebody was going to do this, and then all of a sudden, then that person said no. We was told that the county council was going to do it. We never said we was going to throw money at it, but is it worth saving? Absolutely.
yeah,
We'll figure out a plan, but we just got to have a direction. We can't go from 20,000 to 50-some thousand.
I'm right there with you. You have to have a significant return on investment. So if you don't have it,
Is the monument itself in storage, or is it?
The monument's at 7
That's what I thought, okay.
it's in 3 different locations.
Yeah.
Fun thing was I had to talk them into going back and getting them the granite.
The base.
They were going to leave that. But anyway, well, it's again, we're back to well-intended members of the community that just needed to stop and ask the right people the right questions. And so that's where having a website, having availability, so that they know where to go, so that we avoid these lessons, because we're growing. I mean, we're not going to stop growing. My goal back in 2010 was to have 160,000 people in Berkeley County. I don't know, we might got pretty close to it, but you know, and that because I knew historic preservation was dependent on that. It's funny, people say historic preservation is all about not having anything, no progress. No, you have to have progress, but it has to go hand in hand that you're identifying your resources that identify your uniqueness as a community, correct? Return on investment. So you'll get through that. I had cemetery preservation. I included the code, so you can look them up. They're online. Landmark records. I mentioned that already. Getting tired. Historic district surveys. I give you a brief overview on that. Morgan Cabin is coming up. It needs to get back open again. Historic preservation workshops. That's a dream, but it's nice to dream. Haymaker Road property. It's pretty cool. We own this property over in Shanghai. It's the only farmland preservation easement that does not have a residential envelope. And Dr. Schiavone, being the visionary that he is, has agreed, and we worked with Mr. Small, who wrote the Farmland Preservation Act, that they would resurvey that and include a residential envelope into that property. Right now, as it is, it's just open land. And that allows us to either rent it or to market, it becomes marketable down the road.
Is that up there, once you Go up Hampshire Road, it's on the right-hand side.
Yeah, Hampshire, at the corner of Hampshire and Haymaker.
Yeah,
It's up in there, you don't wanna get off the road too far in there, but.
I know, it's on the right-hand side, well, both sides of the road, once you turn the haymaker.
Yep, and so they've agreed to that, I worked that deal out, it's a great opportunity, again, it's a thread that connects. So being able to work with farmland preservation, having that opportunity, it'll be awesome. We're developing, so as a result of that, we're getting inquiries into leasing it, but we don't have an RFP. So I listened to Mr. Davis over here over the past year talk about these RFPs, and I do have a grant writing. And I never thought about applying it to our leases, about actually applying an RFP to our lease, saying, hey, this is what we're looking for. Now, bid it. And you bid it, and you bid it. And we'll look at and we'll determine who's the best fit moving forward. But as it is now, it's a mess. It's a horrible one. But I haven't been able to get my head wrapped around it. So that's awesome. I included that in there as well. Historic preservation grants, I touched on that. We got 5 going on right now. My drive is to monetize historic property. We drive. We have Airbnb, we have agritourism, we have people wanting to do wedding venues, and these historic preservation grants and the waivers that come along with them allow people to monetize historic property. And monetize, I'm all about that. I'm all about community development, economic development. And then the preservation easement monitoring. And I wrote that in there as well. So, and that's a synopsis of everything that we pretty much have done. And I say, what are the benefits? So you ask me why the money? I tell you, provide a strategic plan, see where we're going. What are the benefits? Advancements will not only preserve unique resources, but also the threads that have made Berkeley County a location of strategic value throughout generations. Many of these opportunities have been briefly seized upon. Monetary benefits will result in leveraged funding through grants, new money through tourism, and growth through historic property monetization. What are the risks? The risk of not funding this request at this time is that the threads vital to the plan will be further lost, threatened, and compromised. These threads that create value through quality of life and tax base will continue to decline for taxpayers. And I have to say, look around at not so far away other jurisdictions. But I won't name no names because then the people that you name, they get mad at you. But just look at declining property values in surrounding districts. So that's pretty much in a nutshell our 2021. And now how do I pull this off? Right now, I'm blessed with 2 super qualified board members. I emphasize qualified board members. Both have master's degrees in historic preservation related fields. I've identified a third person. As we go into the development of RFPs, I want to add a new board member. We'll see how that works out. But I think I have that individual fairly convinced. But as we go through easements and RFP development, I don't have the legal experience. It'd be senseless. It'd be like me working on your car. I mean, if you plan on driving it and you saw me working on it, you might well write off driving it. So I have this individual that I've targeted. I also have a second individual because we're doing heritage tourism. He has extensive, longer than I've been alive, experience in rail trail development, heritage tourism, and National Park Service. So I'm hoping by April that I have 2 new board members to round out the team. And then I will serve as the institutional knowledge. I have the institutional and intrinsic knowledge. I don't have the expertise. I don't claim to be a historic preservationist. I just got into it. I just dig it. I like it. I love it. I love where I live. And my daughter decided to buy a house here, and she really screwed me because I wanted her to move to the beach so I could visit the beach. And she bought a house here. So that means she's going to live here and raise my granddaughter here. So I'm stuck. You know, my son's probably going to follow suit. I need to try to make this the best place to live that they deserve. So my idea of getting a boat, like my dad getting a boat and moving to the coast, that's gone. It's crushed my dreams. I love kids till I had them. But that's part of why we're here. It's part of why we serve. So what I bring is the institutional and intrinsic knowledge and to a business kind of thing. So any questions?
I think you wrote out, gave us a pretty good roadmap.
Thank you.
Always
That's the most I worked in about 3 years.
We know the
I
better.
don't know if it's mostly worked in about 3 years, but you did do a very good job of laying it out for us, so.
Thank you.
I do appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
It's nice to see the county get to this point. I'm not gonna lie to you. And there are some people that are really having a hard time, they're not understanding that. I try to sympathize with that. I navigate through every nook and cranny of this county. I could probably go over to Sunny Spurgeon's and have coffee, you know. But
I could too, probably.
yeah, but I don't know if you'd be home or not. But
Oh, I'll get home. I'll make it home.
but each part of this county operates uniquely different. The people in Jarrettstown are different than the people in Inwood. The people in Bennington, Little Georgetown are uniquely different than the people in Falling Waters. And the problems of Falling Waters is the problems of Falling Waters. The problems of Falling Waters people in Jarrettstown don't care about the problems in Falling. It's a very unique county for a challenge, but great fun. So I've operated, I wouldn't say unscathed because I had a crowd here last year, but I've operated with great success, and I'm blessed that I call the entire county home, and I operate a little bit higher altitude than most people, a little bit higher energy level than most people. I apologize if it's too much, but I'm not gonna quit. That's for you.
You definitely have high energy. I'll give you that as a plus.
My wife said, you either love me or you hate me, but there's no in between. And I've come to feel she's right on.
I think my wife loves to hate me.
Well, I can keep them alive longer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're into that, but so I brought an example of Choco that. Sorry, lady. Not over.
Right.
I got like another
You
hour.
got 30 seconds.
There it is. There's a Choco map. That's how we locate historic resources. What a great time.
Now, is that? I don't want to get myself in trouble. Is that on an app somewhere? Well, why
It's in the
not?
Georgia landmarks.
Well, I mean, why don't I have access to it easy enough? If I
You
want
just
to
have
go,
to call.
huh?
You have to call.
I'll call
I'll
you.
show it to you.
He just told you they don't even have a phone.
You said you didn't have a phone.
We use historic society. And then I just say, what you want? Oh, hey, welcome. Thank you for calling landmarks.
Now, all the-
No, we haven't had we haven't had the board members. You have to have those people that can have a part in that vision. We've never had that before. I've had 80, 90-year-old lovely ladies, and their role was different. And as the county grows, we have now qualified board members.
So I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
continue to try to get myself in trouble. So
That's something new.
no,
Hold it up for
I
people
say
at home.
continue. It's been a while. A couple years ago, my wife and I just driving around on Sunday, decided to stop at some historical landmarks and stuff like that. So, if there comes a day when anybody that comes to Berkeley County that wants to navigate through some landmarks, how's people go about it? Well, why would there not be do we not have anybody to do a tour of landmarks? I know at one time we were.
We have many brochures that over the time, and of the historic resources. The problem is that ownership of those historic resources change. So those people aren't so inclined to want visitors if they're in the driving tour brochure. The other thing is traffic patterns and road names and all these different things. If you're asking me, is that landmarks? Landmarks would love to supply the information and files for the app for visitors. That's something we work on. I'll tell you where I've been. I'll never tell you where I'm going. But I will say that we're on the same page. And how we develop that instrument and how we promote it, that's creative content right there.
I mean, it's just sort of like I got a call from Green Hill Cemetery caretaker, right?
Yes.
But there's a lot. Tammy, appreciation to Tammy and the community service for going over there and really doing a lot of work. But there's a lot of my family buried over there from both sides, and it's just. I don't know. I just need to start taking tours of the of Berkeley County more often.
We do cemetery tours. We started with Green Hill in its real start condition. We got them just about as rated as what they can get. But that's a unique challenge because it's a maintenance nightmare.
I know.
They're never gonna get ahead of that thing. I mean, we could take entire Eastern Regional Jail over there on a weekly basis and somebody was still complaining that the grass was still too tall. That they're
Well, that's my grandfather and I. He used to take me over there to mow his dad and his family's plot, and we'd only do it twice a year.
Yes, sir. And that was the tradition of how that started, was that you took care of your plots. You lived here. We don't have that. We have a generation of 1970s when, late 60s Vietnam era, where an entire generation they left. I love them because now I can go to any state in the continental United States and have a place to stay, but all that intellectual resource is gone. So then Green Hill comes up with the idea of perpetual easement or perpetual care. And as a result of perpetual care, you get to put a concrete curb around your grave plot. So these people pay $400 for perpetual care. That's forever still going, right? And they put a curb around that you have to run your mower up over or trim around.
Well, yeah.
And you go talk to him, you say, hey, look, first thing you do is bust out those curbs. Oh, we never could do that. Why not? I mean, it cost me $1 million. Can figure that out, but it's not there yet. Eventually,
You're right, because that's what exactly they had curb around it.
yeah, and I was told, I mean, Mr. Clone was a great mentor of mine, and I spent every week with him, either in Blue Wade or in Arlington, learning from him as a billionaire developer. I mean, he was amazing. But he said, typically the roof has to fall in. That people will hold tight to their way of thinking. They'll hold tight to that line tradition until the roof caves in and they're forced. And I didn't realize that. So I picked my battles on that. I go to Green Hill, I'm not going to pick a battle. I'll just wait. And hopefully when that time comes, we won't be in such bad shape that we can't help preserve those things. But Old Northbourne, Old Northbourne can happen anywhere in this county. It just takes that perfect minimum. We're not there yet.
All right, you're done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're absolutely so right, though. So many people will go down with the ship as opposed to, putting some slack on it and making it float a little more,
Thank you.
I always bring y'all gifts. Now, last time I brought, you turn that camera on. Last time I brought y'all gifts, I realized that you all got all caught up in the gift that you didn't pay attention to what I was
So
saying.
you wait till we're done.
Yeah, so this time I waited till you're done. You got a picture book last year, right?
I did.
All right. I want to thank Tammy Hawkins, Officer Hawkins, because her community service people, we struggled for years out at the Quaker Cemetery, and she came out there and saw the condition of it. She ran the weed eater. I thought that's kind of scary. I said she grabbed me by the feet and threw me around. So, but she and then her assistant, Deputy Morris, they deserve to be recognized. So I thank you. And I wrote a letter, but I didn't think it would. So I got to this book.
I got you this book.
10
Let me see
cents.
what else I got in the box. That's it.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for
And
listening to me.
certainly do appreciate everything you and your board do. Seems like the older I get, the more interested I am in history.
It's natural. Don't beat yourself up.
Very good to see vision in somebody with enough energy to work to make it happen, and that's what happens. If you're going to bring up an idea and present something, you got to be the one to hold your hand up to make it happen as well.
We plan, organize, and execute. And then there's E squared, that's creative content, but E squared is key, but we plan, organize, and execute. But you gotta put action to your plan. I think we're awash, and people who call themselves strategic planners, they've never done anything. You know, that bugs the crap out of me when I meet with a guy who's, I'm here to meet with, I'm a strategic planner. I'm like, okay, show me what you've done. Well, here's my degree. I don't want to see your degree. I want to see what you've done. And they can't show you anything and they did it. So that bugs me crazy, but I gotta do that.
Todd, I have a project for you. It sounds like you've got tons of energy. There's a hospital of people now that's not full. It's about quarter capacity right now. But down at Boys and Girls Club, if you throw a mask on, you can go down and play with them, and that'll like help them absorb some of your energy. They told me to say it. And if I have to do stand-up after you, I gotta practice my jokes.
Abuse I gotta suffer right here. I don't even know that young lady. She's already been contaminated by the crowd of ruffians back there. I apologize. You should keep better company. That's all I gotta say. Anything else?
Thank you.
Oh,
Tony.
thank God. Woo! Y'all have a great, wonderful rest of your year. I might show up if there's gonna be some action.
That's every Thursday.
Yeah, hell, tour guide.
Ride around on the bus. He could be the tour bus leader.
Yeah.
Put him on the Pan-Tran bus, or
Absolutely.
Eastern Panhandle Transit
On a
Authority
what
bus.
bus?
I said Eastern Panhandle Transit Authority bus.
Hey ladies, I have a book back here for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
He forgot,
We're 4 different books.
he sent you a letter but got lost, so he bought you a book.
Okay, I'm gonna empty this thing out.
Hello. How is everyone?
Everyone is okay.
Yeah, he's always full of energy, that's for sure.
I don't have quite that much. I'll try my best, but I don't know that I can live up to that.
You're always full of energy.
Yeah.
Hey, if it would be okay, I know I was looking on the agenda that King Court is after my budget presentation. In the interest of, so this is Kristen Gangery, and she's the director from the Morgan County Partnership, and she came down from Berkeley Springs.
Uh-huh.
So in the interest of time, may I maybe talk a little bit about King Court first? And
Sure.
move to my
Well,
budget
right
part?
now, we probably won't have anybody show up for Board of Review and Equalization, so we'll probably be good until 4 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
All right?
And it's on your agenda.
Yeah.
Remember you last week?
Yeah, right,
At
on the-
Stacy's request, you recognized the physical age.
Absolutely.
And we just thought this would be a good opportunity for her to come in and talk about the changes.
We would have had an hour and 15 minutes for you to discuss it, but Funk Calendars took up an hour and a half, so
Oh, he was fun to listen to. I was
he
enjoying
is
him.
fun. He's fun. He is a lot of fun. I enjoy it when he comes in. So,
Well, so Teen Court started with Boys and Girls Club. Kathy Bradley and I had talked through the years about Teen Court, how to get it up and running in Berkeley County. And she knew that if you ask me to do something, I'm probably gonna say yes. So that's kind of how we started this process was, how do we get it up and running? How do we get it in Berkeley County? And we had a little bit of trial and error. It wasn't a perfect process. And I think a lot of that hinged on getting the right candidate or the right leader in that program. Whenever you offer someone that you need high caliber work, a part-time job, you don't always get the high caliber employee. So what had happened is we had worked with Morgan County Partnership, and Kristen, full disclosure, she was with the Family Resource Network, and she was the president of the Berkeley County Teen Court Advisory Council, or chair. So she already had some knowledge, but she had a pocket of money for funding for a prevention coordinator or a prevention position, and then there was also the pocket of money for Teen Court. Put them together and to get a full-time employee of higher quality and caliber that was really going to see this program flourish. And that's what happened. It was probably an oversight on our part that we didn't come to you at the beginning, but again, this was happening right at the height of COVID. We had our hands a little full, but it has been a phenomenal partnership. And do you want to, Kristen, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about how it's working now and what's happening. She can definitely speak to that a little bit more, because again, I have my hands full. So it's been a blessing, absolutely, for us at Boys and Girls Club, because it's exactly what we wanted to see happen.
okay. All right.
So, yeah.
Good afternoon. So my name is Christine Inger. I'm the Executive Director of the Morgan County Partnership. Some background information, we're a 501c3 in Berkeley Springs. We primarily focus on substance use prevention and promotion. We provide lots of support for our neighboring counties. We have a couple of that serve as in Jefferson. We also facilitate Morgan County team work for the past 10 years. So we have a very sturdy model of that program, juvenile justice diversion model in our system. So, as Stacy mentioned, I previously was the executive director of the FRN, serving in Eastern Panhandle prior to coming into Morgan County Partnership. In that capacity, I did serve as the advisory council president, working knowledge from the beginning of Berkeley County team court, and I'm passionate about the program. So we did have a good match for additional supportive funding to recruit this facilitator in a blended 40-hour position, which is what she wanted. So that has kind of come to fruition since, I guess, April. We just recently was able to pull her out of some of the substance use funding and half-time capacity. So we did not fill the council for 6 months. We were able to employ her for the purpose of both functions to serve her team for 20 hours in the program. So now we are at the point where we need to start invoicing again. So we are going to request that formal change in this budget. Question?
No, we're good.
You approved that last week,
Right.
and the invoice that you submitted are actually on the council's purchase order log for Thursday to be approved. I think it's about $1,000.
I believe we had a blended for October, November, and then one for December.
Right. So it'll catch up. So it is on their purchase order for approval on Thursday.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the program?
No, I mean, Morgan Partnership has been out been in existence for quite a while. That, in fact, not mistaken, that was the one that spearheaded the whole effort of juvenile drug court.
Yeah, we're almost 20 years old now.
Right,
So
right.
3 months shy.
Yeah. I know I was starting to get emails when I first came in 10 years ago about
Yeah, so we facilitate a lot of substance use prevention programs. We receive funding with AMSA and HRSA, CCC, West Virginia, Department of Resources. We have a lot of programs spreading multiple counties. We're now also serving as the fiscal agent for the Jefferson Berkeley Alliance on Substance Use Prevention. So that's what this facilitator is working with in the capacity. It was a good fit. Due to kind of curtail some of these behaviors and kids for give them a second chance, always our goal. Keep them out of juvenile justice system. Clean records and hopefully reduce recidivism of these behaviors long term.
So we were just talking with Tim Zai in a meeting earlier about community service and day report stuff for juveniles, and you catch a juvenile at the right time, you can turn their life around within a couple minutes. Yep. So, all right. Well, thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. All right, Stacy, how's things been going for you?
Hey, busy. I had to take notes because currently my office is now in my basement. We transferred some of the spacing at the club so that my office is now the sick room. So if we, God forbid we get a child who's running a fever and needs to be picked up quickly, we can separate them from the rest of the kids in the club. But it's also as soon as you enter the door, so we're able to shuffle them into the office and keep everybody safe that way.
Did you ever find your office space that you was looking for? We was working on.
We did not. We looked at last year. We looked at the journal, and then things kind of happened as they did, and we really didn't get to move forward with that.
Right.
But right now my basement's working out okay. I think for now we're okay. Especially we've had to really cut capacity. So with COVID, we kind of looked at our space. We talked a lot with Bill Kearns in the early programming concept and to try and figure out, okay, what is it that we can do inside of our facility and still maintain a safe separation of, or safe space between children. So we determined at half capacity, and I think right now, probably a 60 was what we determined would be a suitable half capacity. We're not up to that number yet. So let me, actually, if I can kind of go ahead and go back, do a look back on where we were last year this time, because when I came in, we were looking at what our numbers for 2019 were looking like. Now I can kind of give you a comparison of what we look like in 2020. So for 2019, we ended our membership year with 734 total members. 2020, again, because with COVID, we were not able to be in the school systems as much. We ended with 507, so that was 227 children down in the daily program every day after school. Surprisingly, though, we skyrocketed in other youth served. I'll define that in a minute, but I want to give you numbers. So 2019, we had 125 other youth served. We ended 2020 with 800 for an increase of 675 children. So why is that important to the county? Because those 675 other youth, they were coming because they were hungry. We saw an astronomical increase of young people who came to our doors every Monday, not because they had a need for the program after school, but they didn't have food.
I hear this all the time. I mean, backpack for the schools. We're feeding kids when they're not going to school. Why? I mean, it's one side. I will catch it from people's attention. One side of me says that we're doing the responsibility that parents should do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even if they can do it, and if they know someone else is going to do it, they're going to let us do it. And then there's a huge population out there that parents are too high and everything else to do it for them.
You just answered your question right there with all of your observations, though.
Right.
First of all, it created, what COVID did is it lifted the veil off of what all the needs in the community could be, and it created awareness.
But how do we stop it?
But-
That's the thing. How do we stop it? I mean,
So, I don't know, because if a child's hungry and they
I know
didn't
that's-
come before, but now they have access to it and they're not, how's that not a good thing? I mean, I'm not asking.
No, I
you-
know. That's why I say, how do we stop it though? I mean, that's the thing. Before long, I mean, go from 125 to 800.
I think it told us that we have a greater responsibility, which makes my request to you that more powerful. If we have that much of a greater responsibility to the youth in our community that we didn't even know about, but now we do, we're on the hook. We're responsible now. And we have to really look at how are we really helping our families. And I'm not saying that's your responsibility or yours or any of us individually, but collectively it's all of our responsibility.
Well, it's disturbing because it's the parents' responsibility. We're making it very comfortable for them to make it our responsibility. And I understand. Kids got to eat.
And that's one way to look at it, Doug. But what we see in the club, especially, is I've got that single mom that is out there and she's working a job and she's really trying to make ends meet for her family. And just about the time, it gets
That's
better.
acceptable.
It gets better. Just about the time that she's in a place where she's finally able to make it and she's not going to bed having another sleepless night because she can't feed her family and put a roof over their head, that's when her benefits get ripped out from under her because, now you make too much. So now we have to take it away from you. That's where the clubs really come into play.
And Stacy, I've always told the state.
Sorry, I'm getting a little Todd-like
No,
now, a
no,
little
that's
animated.
I've always told the state, when somebody tries to better themselves, you can't penalize them, right? At the end of the month or at the end of the week, they got to take home more money and not have a benefit takeaway. We got to incentivize people to do better. right?
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, our state and our federal government sometimes takes some things away, right? So where the people said, well, I'm not gonna work. I just went $200 backwards, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta kind of say, okay, you've done well, you're gonna do better this month, and you're gonna continue to do better. As long as you do better, we're gonna do less. But at the end of the day, we're still not gonna let you fall backwards.
Right, and unfortunately, that happens time and time again. And there's a lot of the families that we see. We have, I'll get a little anecdotal before I get back.
Do we educate the parents, or do we try to educate the parents at all?
Of course. I'll get to my story. I've got one family, dad works, there are 6 children in the family, mom's at home. They don't live outside of their means. They truly struggle. It was all, this is a prideful family. And this gentleman, when we said we have Christmas gifts for your children, he was in tears. He just couldn't understand, like, why are you helping me like this? And I think it's because we're finally in a place right now where we've been able to provide for families in a way that shows them their value and their worth. And if a little bit of food can show a family of their value and their worth, that really says a lot. And that's kind of how we started with COVID. First we started asking our families, what do you need? What is it that we can do to help you? And meals were the first thing, then education, because they were like, how are we going to help educate our kids, try to work, some of them working from home, some of them working outside the home, and then keep their emotional stability in check. I don't know that we've done a successful job in the education piece or the mentoring and the minds piece so much as we did the food.
That's the only thing that's gonna break the cycle.
We've been trying
You
to
gotta
break
be
the
able to
cycle.
break the cycle.
Yeah, we've been trying to break the cycle for years. And you know what? You will have moments where there will be kids that unfortunately fall through the cracks, but then you'll have some of those moments where you name a day in the county after a kid.
Everybody knows that I've got a very soft heart for children. I don't want anybody to think that I don't, right? But at the same time, we got to try to figure out a way to break the cycle on everything we're doing. Everybody's working in the same direction on our side,
Right.
Your side, our side. You're trying to keep them off drugs. You're trying to keep them active, keep them out of trouble. County's trying to get the parents straight.
And there's a parent education component in our program that we focus on with our Department of Justice grant, the drug prevention grant that we received last year. That's been a challenge trying to implement that because you can't run camps, you can't bring all these children together during COVID. So we really focused on how do we reach out and do virtual connection? How do we stay connected? Next month, March, we're going to have our first in-person camp. Thank the Lord, because I've been awaiting this time when we can actually get our kids at the campsite itself and spend that time together. And part of that is bringing the families together. Grandparents who are raising children, they need strategies. They need to know, how do I do this? Maybe I didn't sign on to this, but my child's not here to take care of their own, and I have to step in.
Well, there's 300 to 400 children displaced right now, either living with another family member or living in a tent. 300 to 400.
Not acceptable.
And that's just the ones being transported from one school district to another.
So you're asking, how do we do it? How do we change the trajectory? It's through partnerships. One last number I have for you though, before I get to that. Number of meals that we serve. So during COVID, from March 17th through the end of the year, we served 118,000 meals. Actually, that was for the full year this year. Last year it was 70,000. So it's a sizable jump. And in Berkeley County alone, this year, 60,387 constituted what we serve here in Berkeley County. So how do we do it? We do it with partnerships, Doug. I don't just come and talk to you guys and say, please support us. There are a lot of different groups, not just government, business, community, just people who are in social service organizations and say, you know, we want to help, we want to find a way. Being able to call Kristen and say, hey, I need some support in Morgan County because we have kids that they need some drug prevention education. And, you know, right now we're in the process of buying a building in Morgan County. We're going through the last part of the loan process, and then we will have a closing date and have a building up there. But knowing that I have partners to call on. So just in this last year, Panda Express put together books for a lot of the members in all 3 of our counties. We partnered with Sunrise Rotary and Eastern West Virginia Community Foundation and put Club in a Bag because we knew we couldn't bring kids in the club, but we had to have something for them to connect so that we stayed in touch. So we did virtual programs that correlated with Club in a Bag. We partnered with the West Virginia Extension Office. Mikey worked with us to put activities, STEM activities to get out to our kids. They'd come and get these when they picked up their meals. So the meals were the great connector because that's when we got the parents there. We were able to check in and say, hey, what's going on at home? How are things going? What do you need? Is there anything that we can get for you? And then out of that, different groups in the community, we had motorcycle clubs that put together gift bags and gift boxes for the holidays and helped to feed our kids. I'd love to tell you that we went the whole year without one incident of COVID connecting to our club. Unfortunately, we had someone on our team that tested positive, and it shut us all down for 2 weeks. Thankfully, this motorcycle club said, hey, we can't let your families down. What can we do to help? And they picked up all of our food bank stuff, put together meal boxes, and we didn't miss a beat. I mean, our families didn't miss meals because of it. We worked with Healthy Berkeley, and now the junior league is working with Healthy Berkeley to get fresh fruits and vegetables in the hands of our kids. We worked with Horses with Hearts to get equine. It wasn't equine therapy, but it was connected to this connection to horses that really impacted their social emotional development. The calming factor that the kids experienced while they were at Horses with Hearts and working with the horses was pretty phenomenal. They learned leadership skills through that, how to partner, how to take care of something other than yourself. I think that there's a lot that goes behind that. Would all of those things happen for a child collectively if they weren't a club kid? Maybe, but probably not. And I think we're kind of the glue that holds this whole process together. And we don't do it here just in Berkeley County. We do the same thing in Morgan County and in Jefferson County. We're in the process of a move in Morgan County, just because of new kids that are coming to pick up the meals. You know, Sandy's in our Morgan County club. She connected with a family and a little boy who would hide behind his dad every time they came to pick up food and didn't talk at all, is now like, Miss Sandy, do you have a book that you can read to me? And she reads on the other side of the glass. She'll read to him, and he's able to just communicate and talk. When they're in the club, and seeing kids come back in the club, even though they're wearing masks and they can't connect, and trying to keep 6-year-olds from hugging each other when they haven't seen each other for months has been really hard. Trying to keep Miss Stacy in her space and not try to hug children that's hard too. But we're doing it, and we're doing it safely, and we're making that difference that is so important in our community. Yeah. Oh, last thing I have. I love it when Monday arrives and staff will send me little notes. So this was from the Gray family. Dear members of the Boys and Girls Club, she means our staff. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the meals you supply to us. Thanks for helping people like us, as well as all you do for other families undergoing the pandemic. We all hope you stay safe for now, and we wish you a very safe and happy Valentine's Day. We are all proud of what you do for us. From the great family. Thank you. That right there, that's the good stuff. That's when you know, when you have not the kid, but parent send you a letter. So I would respectfully request that when you look at our request this year, please keep in mind that, you know, we have Todd's energy back in the club. It's by sheer force. That team of people have really risen to the occasion, and they're not letting our kids down.
I know your space is getting tight. How long is that building gonna last you?
Well, right now we're trying to get it ADA compliant. So we have a bathroom project, and this is community development block grant funding that's helping to support this project. So the bathroom renovation is this year. I will put in a grant. I'm working on it now for elevators. And quite frankly, I told Nancy today, I said, Nancy, I need a project manager. I can't negotiate a loan and make sure that all of the renovations in Morgan County happen, plus oversee a bathroom renovation, plus oversee an elevator. That's the last piece to the building down here to get it to be ADA compliant.
But size-wise, is it still sufficient?
Yes, we're making that work. Do I think that we could use bigger and always newer and nicer? Absolutely. Can you help me get there? I mean, definitely that's a need. I think what's happening with COVID and the number of kids that we're seeing from out in the county, we need more space out in the county. That's truly the next step. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's something that Boys and Girls Club can undertake on our own, if it's a partnership with Parks and Rec or another entity.
I think partnerships is the thing to do in the future. You know, we got a lot of buildings and a lot of facilities that's not being utilized at the full capacity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
There are very few ball fields and gymnasiums that's open to the public to have open basketball or open baseball games and softball games.
Right.
But yet the fields are sitting there empty. During the day, you have tournaments and stuff at night, and you have practice at night. But in the summertime, well, why don't we use it?
I don't know.
You know,
We utilize every
Andy
square
DeMagno
inch
now
of our
played football
space.
in Rosemont all the time when we was growing up.
Yeah. Is he here? No.
So-
Usually he's my cheering squad.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we just need to create partnerships, much better partnerships.
Oh yeah. And Alan and I've had some conversations along the way, and I think that there's some great opportunity. There's no competition in who can help the kid. We're all in this together. We absolutely have to do it all together.
And why I'm thinking, the reason I thought about that was yesterday, for some reason, I just started thinking, I mean, and maybe, let's say if the rec center had an open gym after school, why don't we not have, kids being able to go in there and start their own game? You know what I mean? In the wintertime. Maybe they're being used. I don't know, but it's just a thought that I had.
I can't speak to that. Maybe that would be a question for Alan.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
But that's the thought thinking. I mean, the buildings are there. We're paying the heat. We're paying the cooling, and maybe I know we have all the different other activities for the people my age and older.
I think probably the biggest barrier, and it's one that we've seen for since the dawn of time, has been transportation. Like, why is the club in downtown Martinsburg? I think it started really for all the children who lived in town that could walk there to get there.
Right, exactly.
Right. So,
That's
now
why
we're
you have
starting
to have more than one one spot.
Now we're starting to bus and transport in, but yeah, it won't hold forever. So, and again, I mean, like I said, families are, right now, they're able to and willing to come in and pick up meals because it's a 1 day a week commitment. Coming back and forth every day after school, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, Doug, let me get Morgan County taken care of with the building first before I jump to the next thing.
All right.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Because I know transportation's gotta be a problem, that's why we did what we did. You know, I could walk 8 blocks and go to Rosemont. So, you know, Boys and Girls Club is great for kids that live downtown Martinsburg, but the ones that live on the north end, the rec center would be better.
Well, and we transport some, and we're in the schools too. You know, as soon as we're out of COVID, we're back, and we're allowed to be, we're back in our schools. So we're over at North, we're at Eagle School and Orchard View and Burke Street. We're back into those schools again. We just can't be there right now.
So after school activities, you get into the schools, that's a prime example.
We're already there. Yeah, we
Sure.
try to be out.
Right,
And a lot of, that's all funded by grants.
okay.
If we look at our entire budget, we did, so another thing that COVID helped us to do was really analyze our finances and figure out, okay, where is our money coming from? Separate from COVID, if things would have run on course as normal, we would have been managing $1 million budget on grants. So out of and I think we ended the year with 1.2 was our final P&L that we just closed out. So with that, I mean, 200,000 is really all that's coming from within our community. The rest are state, federal, and government grants. So, I mean, that's a hefty piece to manage. Grant management's fun, isn't it? So imagine what we could do differently, maybe, if we weren't so reliable on grants. Do you all have questions? I've just rattled your ear off. I don't think I was quite as animated as Todd, but hopefully I kept you awake anyway. Seems a little odd not seeing my former boss up here.
She's having fun, I'm sure.
I'm sure. She always has fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anything else though that I can answer?
Anybody?
Just thanks for what you've done. I know you guys have, you know, especially during the summer, you were extremely busy. And, just thanks for taking care of the kids.
Thank you, Eddie. We need AEDs in our buildings. If that's something that, I know that might be something separate. I don't know if that's something that could happen.
You knew what?
The AEDs.
Okay.
That's definitely something that, when you made me think about it, I was like, oh, I need to talk to Eddie.
That came from the ambulance story.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you. I want to thank Tammy and you guys have been phenomenal. They helped to get our sidewalks cleared. Steve Bobek is phenomenal. Sometimes I don't even have to ask him first. He says, hey, I know this, you might need this. Can I help? So that's another partnership that has been amazing for us.
Yeah, we hear it all the time. You know, Tammy, Steve, Alan, anybody that's on that side. And that's huge. I mean, it's the hours that they put in is just astronomical.
Absolutely. And that just means that my staff spend more time working with kids. Taking those extra hours for shoveling snow. So, thank you all.
All right,
You have a
thank
great
you.
day.
Thanks. All right, you can shut us off for a couple minutes. back in session. Mr. Barnhart, if you do the honors.
I'll believe that, I'll move to recess.
All right. We're recessed.
Sounds like you struggled with